Hey everybody!
Hi everyone!
Happy October!
Yeah, ready for some spooky time.
Spooky.
I'm Jenny.
I'm Paul.
And we are with the Go Box Art Crate and also Vingo Artist Bar for those of you who are in Portland, Oregon. That's our studio where people come in and paint while drinking wine.
That's where we learned our craft of how to teach people how to paint.
Yep, that's what got us all into this.
Got us into it.
So today we have a really fun Halloween-inspired painting, although there are some things you could do to alter it if you don't want to do a spooky painting. You want more of like something you can hang up through Thanksgiving, for example. Yeah, let's go ahead and zoom in on the painting.
Wow, we're jumping right in. There's no...
We are jumping. You know what? You got to keep us on the screen, though.
Oh, I can do that. Zip.
For a second.
Zing.
So we can do our toast.
Oh. There we are.
Hopefully you guys have been having a good, beginning of your week, because it's only
How about
Tuesday.
this? Let's go over here.
It's only Tuesday. We are going to be doing another live video next Tuesday. So Tuesday seems to be our video nights for now.
Yep. For right now, we're going to be going, I think, third and fourth.
Yeah, probably,
Tuesday.
unless otherwise noted. Next month we have some really fun holiday ornaments. One of you guys had suggested that, so I went ahead and designed that. They have glitter, so you get glitter in next month's box, which will be really fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you have. You have a...
I have the
one with all the red trees and...
Yeah, so we just named that November Hike.
November Hike, that's the one we
Yeah.
tried to name it today.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of similar to this month's painting, but different.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's a continuation.
Or like a zoomed in.
Yeah, but it's kind of a little bit
Zoomed
different
in.
though, because it's more like you're walking through the woods versus the other one, which is like you're out in the field and blah, blah, blah.
So
Whatever.
on this painting, what I was telling you about keeping it, more in the fall realm, like you could leave these eyes off, and your branches, I purposely made these really creepy with like
they look like hands.
claw-like thing.
Totally.
And
like
so
hands.
you could do that, leave that off, and make it like more of a curlicue or like some kind of whimsical tree or a natural tree. These also maybe not so tall and spiky, maybe kind of round them a little bit. So, you could probably leave them like they are, and it's just gonna look like a fir tree forest. Maybe some of these are maybe a little tall. I wanted these like spire sort of looking trees in the background. I kid you not, there are at least 3 paintings underneath this. I had a really hard time for whatever reason designing something for October, and you witnessed it. I was repainting and hair drying and repainting. The key thing is I didn't want to make something that was cheesy. I really loved last year's, which was for those of you who have watched it or been with us for a while, it was the pumpkin snowman. So
the Halloween Hello.
Yes, and it was inspired by vintage Halloween cards. And so I think in my mind I really wanted to recreate something like that, but it was really hard to do without exactly replicating that. So I went a different direction. I'm really happy with the way these pumpkins turned out.
I always feel personally like Halloween is maybe the hardest. Well, I feel like there's... No, it's not.
It's hit or miss.
It's
like
hit or miss.
Over the years, we've designed some paintings that are not like people just don't sign up for.
I think they're so seasonal.
It's so seasonal.
Yeah.
But you know what? We can continue talking in a second. I want to do our toast, and I want to get us painting our canvas black.
All right.
Because we do need a little drying time.
What are
So
we gonna
that can
toast
be
to
when
today?
we can blabber on. Let's toast to Halloween, the spooky season.
Spooky Halloween.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We are drinking a sparkling rosé tonight.
Yep.
So I'm going to move this aside. If you have the kit, you will
Yeah.
you will have received the instruction sheet, which is double-sided. It walks you through each step. I will follow this, but I might deviate a little bit just for the live drawing time and all that. Color-wise, this month we're not using, well, in my painting, we're not using red. So we've got black, white, the sapphire blue, daffodil yellow, and then your craft orange. Now, you won't need quite this much paint. I've doubled it up for Paul and I since we're sharing a palette.
So what size paint dollop do you think people should be shooting for? Because We are sending out the bottles that are this size, and they're basically a 3-month supply. So if this is your first time, I know we've got a lot of new subscribers this month, so
Yeah.
might want to go through that. You get this bottle. This is a 3-month supply, and you're going to use probably actually only about a quarter of the bottle per month.
Yeah, and in fact, I was going to say, always start with like a quarter size dollop of paint, because you can always add more. It's just harder to scoop it back into the bottle.
Yeah, I remember back when we were in college and we would get the oil paint and we would scoop it back in, but it was so expensive.
Yeah,
You didn't want to.
Literally starving artists then.
Yeah. So you really, I think that was a great piece of advice. Just a little bit, and then add
to
more. Like this is probably like half the bottle,
Yeah.
which is way more than you need to use.
That's less than half the bottle. So our 3 brushes, I have these 3 get me through every single painting we do here and in the studio. My 1-inch wide brush. I have a number 4 round, although the size numbers don't pay too much attention to because different brands have different sizes. Like I had another number 4 that was this size. Like this one is number 4. They're both number 4 and completely different. But you just want something like, if you're going for a flat or bright brush, like a 1/4 inch wide is good. And then this diameter of this one is...
Yeah, real close to about a quarter inch, I'd say.
So we're going to start with the biggest brush first. Go ahead and dip it in your water cup and kind of lightly brush it across the bottom of the cup. And we can disappear for now, Paul.
And before we get going too far, if this is the first time seeing us, make sure you click subscribe. So and notify, ring the bell. What is it?
So I'm drying my brush just so
that you see our new videos when they come out and when we schedule them. We're going to start scheduling the live streams way further out in advance, aren't we?
Yeah. I'm getting some weird shadowing across my...
Your beverages are in the way,
wine. Okay, so I washed and dried the brush. Let's go ahead and dip it in black. And I like to just start from the center and work outward on this painting. Because we're going to be painting in the center of the giant moon. So if we can get the center to dry faster, that would be good.
Oh, look, it looks like a skull. Our paint. Look, check it out. Totally
it does. Actually, it looks like the way like a baby looks on an ultrasound.
I was going for something that was a little bit more Halloween-like, but, you know.
I just saw an ultrasound photo on Instagram.
If we do
this,
look, it's the alien.
No, it needs to go like way further.
Well, I know, but I didn't want to waste our paint.
Oh yeah. That totally looks like the alien, which we just watched the whole over the pandemic. We watched the whole.
I don't know what I just did. He's got a
quadrilogy, whatever it is.
Well, we haven't watched all of them.
I thought we did.
No, there's still a couple of newer ones.
You know, yeah, like the Prometheus and those others are like prequels to it. I read. I had no idea of that.
You know, Greta is our 14-and-a-half-year-old daughter. We were just talking about those movies a couple days ago. And she was like, the first one, oh, I know why, because we were watching Ghostbusters and Sigourney Weaver was on there.
Ripley.
Yeah, and Greta said, you know, the first one was really good, but it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, that's probably right. I liked the one with Winona Ryder. That was number 4, I think. I thought that one was interesting, how they go underwater.
Is that 4 or 3? I think that was 3.
I can't remember.
I don't know. If anybody out there knows what it is and you're watching live right now.
Or you can Google it.
Or you Google it. Feel free to chat us up in the chat box.
So I'm just doing a thin coat. We don't need any thick texture here. What we need is a fast dry. And so I am just spreading it out pretty thin.
So just thick enough to cover, but not so thick that you're getting big old chonks.
Yeah, no chonkiness.
All right. Hopefully I use that term appropriately.
I'm sure it's an art technical term. So yeah, I'm really just working my way through this and spreading it out. When this is all done, you can paint the sides and the top and the bottom of the canvas, and then it will look really cool hanging up on the wall.
You know, next time you do this, let's think in advance and just order black canvases.
Yeah, I thought of that a little late in the time frame.
Too late to order.
Yeah.
Too late to order from our supplier. But there's also some things to be said, like from our old school history of painting, leaving the canvas showing is not necessarily I say it's frowned upon.
It's frowned upon, yeah, leaving the canvas showing through. Although I noticed your style, you use such thin paint that if you look
But
up
that's
close,
not intentional. That's not like I'm just leaving this area of the white canvas showing because I want it to be white.
Yeah,
Right.
Even if like there's an area on the canvas or on the painting that's supposed to be white, I will paint white over the white canvas just because like
It looks different.
my brain can't handle it.
It looks different too.
My OCD can't handle it. So black, I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like black dries the fastest out of all the colors. Because we've done a lot of classes where we've had to paint an entire canvas black to start. And I feel like
I
it
agree.
dries super fast.
I agree with you.
And today it'll probably dry really slow because we have to move on. I do have a hairdryer. I noticed there's a hairdryer in the cubby over there. It probably came out of the on-the-go stuff.
I think it did.
Speaking of on-the-go, we just taught a double class at Skamania Lodge this past weekend, and it was
nice.
fun.
Yeah.
A little tiring. I mean, it's kind of exhausting to pack everything and get up there and teach and then check into your room and do dinner and
All the while keeping a 14 and a half and a 20-year-old from being bored.
actually our 20-year-old's fine.
Keeping a 14 and a half year old.
So yeah, I had counted. We're getting into our busy season, which is great because we were really dead for a while in the studio, and it was very concerning because we're normally dead in the summer, but there was a part of my brain that was going, "Is this pandemic, and this is going to be how it normally is?" But now we're picking up. We do great. We do. We do follow really good COVID guidelines for social distancing.
Yep.
And so our studio is very safe. We sanitize everything. Probably more than we actually need to. But
Well, our
it's
staff
important.
is very
conscious.
yeah. Exactly.
So I washed and dried my brush.
Wash it.
And now we're just gonna let it dry for a little bit. Just work away. You can always pause the video on a live video.
Wash it up, rinse it, and
And-
dry it off.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, we'll be painting the big moon in the center in just a little bit.
So sit tight while we twiddle our thumbs. Let's sing a song.
Let's talk about.
I don't know. I'm totally unprepared for this.
I know. I was going to talk about the upcoming November projects.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we'll show pictures of those, and I wish I would have brought them. They're the ornaments are just those birch, or not birch. They're a different type of wood. I don't know what kind. An East Coast wood, I think.
Generic East Coast wood.
And anyway, they're about 3 inches in diameter, thereabouts. You guys
we
know.
do
You've
have
worked with them?
those. We do have those here.
Yeah, I have the ornaments here.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I have a snowman on one, a red barn with a snow scene and birch tree, and has like a little wreath, I think.
Hey, do more of this stuff so that people know that it's not just like
Yeah.
a paused video. Oh, actually, I got a better idea. Let's do this. Hey, we're back. How about that?
Yeah, and then so I have the snowman, the barn, very holiday oriented, very like snow, like December oriented. And so I thought I need to throw something in there that isn't like forgetting fall or forgetting like Thanksgiving,
Right.
that sort of thing. I've had a request once in a while for turkeys, and I will tell you right now, there is no way I'm ever painting a turkey because I don't think I would ever do a good job because they're not like the prettiest bird.
Are you saying they're not very photogenic?
They're not very photogenic or paintogenic.
Quit waddle shaming them. They can't help it. They were born that way.
I'm sure somewhere some artist has done turkey some good, but I think I would do it dirty and I just wouldn't do a good job.
Easy
Turkey
there.
painting.
Easy.
So anyway, the third round is it's got aspen trees on it, and the leaves are falling, and it's got a big moon behind them, and then also maybe it has some snow. No, I don't think it has some snowfall on it.
Oh, I can look. You just sent me that
But
picture.
the all the white on all of the rounds is covered with white glitter. So it's a really fine, super fine, like iridescent glitter. So it looks really cool. I was super happy with the way they turned out. And I think you guys will love them too. So that will be my project. And tell us about yours.
So my project is, again, like we talked about earlier, it's just kind of a continuation. I actually wanted this to feel like we are moving from early fall deeper into fall, and by doing so, we move deeper into the forest of falling leaves.
I know. I wish we had yours here to show.
I know. I like that one. Actually, I like both of them.
What'd you do with it?
I
think it's sitting on the gray couch in our old filming studio.
Yeah.
At home.
But yeah, I kind of felt like it was too early to get into doing a winterscape. And then I'm actually got my December painting ready as well. And that one I think you guys are going to like. That one's in...
What is that one? Or can you say it yet? It's a top secret.
No, I can say it. It's the mountain scene with the lake in the foreground.
Oh, that one turned out really good.
Yeah.
So the December kit, you guys get this beautiful turquoise color in your palette. It's a very jewel tone turquoise. It's not the one that you've gotten before that's called Bahama Blue. It's completely different,
right,
and a little more greenish. Like
it's
a
more
true
what
turquoise.
A true turquoise, yeah.
So I got to figure out a painting that uses the turquoise as well. And I was surprised you did something with snow, although you don't have the ground showing, do you?
There's some spots, yeah.
Because you have told me before how much you hate painting snow.
I'm not a big fan of painting snow.
But you do snow on mountains good.
I do snow on mountains fine, but just snow in the foreground. But one of the things I also wanted to try to avoid, which is something I feel like is an issue with winter paintings as a whole, is it coming across as being too cool and cold. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times winter paintings end up, and definitely when you guys see this one, it's got a very bright, warm, kind of sunsetty sky reflecting into a lake, and there's a little snowy island and some trees and stuff. And I wish I had it here with me because it's one of those.
It's pretty.
I'm happy with it.
Very pretty.
So
I thought of something the other day, and I just remembered right now that I thought during this time I would show you guys.
Oh, we're gonna play tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, we're gonna play tic-tac-toe. My technique on drawing the pumpkins.
I'm gonna go back to non-picture-in-picture.
Okay. Bye.
Wait, we'll just be ghosts. We'll just sit here and hang out.
My head is on a splotch of phthalo blue.
It's true.
Sapphire blue.
You're turning violet, Violet.
Totally. Okay. So I learned about drawing pumpkins a while back because you automatically think, oh, I draw a circle with a stem. Well, yeah, you can do that. But to do a pumpkin that actually has some shape and looks more realistic, we want to do it a different way. And I'll show you this again later when we do draw the pumpkins. But this is kind of cool practice, and this is killing some time so our black canvases can dry. What I usually do is I establish the stem. So I just draw a little oval circle. And then from there, I draw the front two lines or segment dividers. And the cool thing is you can adjust these, like you can make them bend really sharply up here, and it's kind of fun to see. And then I'll draw the next one that comes down, and I'll end it a little shorter of that one. And the next one. And then back here it's going to go across like this. And then you can even add more if you feel like it needed to be divided a little better.
Be careful of that straight down one, though. I think
I curve it slightly.
That's a tough one to do your shadow and highlight on.
And then we draw the stem. So let's try again. So I'll do the oval center, and then I'm going to bend this one a lot more. So it has more of a sharp bend up here.
You know, this technique is very similar to like if you're painting a flower, too, where you're doing petals that kind of start from the same spot and then kind of overlay each other.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like it needs another. So a lot of times, you can go back and add. So what happens on mine is the central area ends up being pretty wide. But you can see that looks like a lot more natural pumpkin shape than just doing this. This looks more like a basketball with the stem.
Sweet.
So yeah, we've got the little core area where the stem comes out. And then you can draw the stem. I tend to like to make them curl. I love those ones that curl, and then you can add the little curly Q vines and that kind of thing.
You're not a fan of Tim Burton at all.
Right? And then these stems, they sort of go into those dividing lines.
You're right. I never really thought about that, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
So we'll do that with the paintbrush.
These are I've seen you paint a million pumpkins. These are my favorite ones I've seen you paint on this particular painting.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
This one will be a little bit of a challenge because it is leaning, and maybe not so much. Might not be too much of a challenge. So let's say this is our square canvas or rectangular canvas. I will draw the circle, the oval. It's tilted, and then I'll draw the center core, whatever we want to call that, and then more lines. I just go flip from side to side until finally there's not a lot of room in the back, and you just do that one that curves.
Would you just do the smallest pumpkin known to man? You did.
Well, I did want to do a tiny one.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of room to do one this size.
It's true. Not on that little square.
Yeah, the center line is the one that can be a little troublesome. So don't go straight up and down. If you come in and draw like I did here, I did this curve.
I think that's true of just about anything you're painting.
Yeah.
Head on is just the most difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
My canvas is dry enough to continue.
Yeah, I think mine too. And the cool thing is if we do end up getting a little yellow, a little wet black paint mixing into the yellow, we'll just go back and put another coat of yellow on it. And it's not going to be a big deal. Maybe it will accidentally create these little moon craters that we want. So bringing this back over, this moon takes up a huge portion of the canvas, more than half. It's huge. And we are going to do that. You don't have to worry about making a perfect circle. Only about 2/3 of the moon shows, but it's got this glowy, soft edge around it. So that should hide any imperfection.
So I got a question for you.
Okay.
I am personally, and this is just me, I'm not as much of a fan of just yellow moons. Is it okay if I do mine a little bit more on the white side?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
There's a bug landed in our paint.
It's the fly from the debate.
It's come to visit us.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, I feel bad. It's totally... No, it's walking out.
Come on, little buddy. You can do it.
You can do it. I don't want to touch it. Because I don't want... It's like the top of the paint has a little skin on it. So it can actually walk. Yay, we saved it. So it can go land in one of our wines and drown. That's what will happen.
But my karma is preserved.
So I mix white and yellow.
Now it's stuck on my brush.
You killed it.
No, I did not.
So I'll mix some white. I'll just pull some white aside, and then I'm gonna mix about equal parts yellow. Just kind of gradually add it in. And what Paul was saying about doing a different color moon, absolutely. Like I could add a little tiny bit of orange in here. It can turn peach really fast, so just go cautiously.
I've got an idea, and it's gonna be
mind blowing.
Mind blowing. It's gonna be a test.
Now, if you want to use this smaller brush, like your medium-sized brush, to draw a circle first, please, by all means, do it. Drawing with this flat brush can be a challenge. What I do is I just do this top arch first, and I'm using the skinny edge of the brush. And then technically, we really don't have to paint the whole thing, but it shows it on the instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And just aim for circular. You don't have to worry about like a perfect circle like I was saying.
I'm going green cheese.
And I try to fill it in right away so that I don't end up with this dried line on the edges that stands out. And move your brush around in different brush strokes as you're filling it in. Oh, you got green in it. I don't want green in mine. You totally overrode my color.
Didn't mean to. It happens.
All right. You need your own palette.
I got nothing.
All right, so yeah, I'm just moving my brush around several different directions because that can help to suggest that there is texture to the moon. There's craters and crevices and big canyons and all that. All those things that actually make up the man in the moon face. Doing a moon with actual craters, like a realistic moon, is really hard. That's a challenge that I would love to give myself someday if I have time to commit to doing a hyper-realistic painting.
That's such a... I've tried it. Not the moon specifically, but I've tried to do hyper-realistic. Can I do hyper-realistic? Yes, I believe I can. Do I have the patience for it? That's questionable.
No, you would totally be like, squirrel!
No. I'm
gonna go remodel the bathroom now.
You might be the only person that found that funny.
Okay, so you can, once you have it filled in, just work at your own pace. Again, pause the video if needed. I tend to, like a lot of you maybe are still drawing the moon.
For those of you
I move along here.
For those of you who are new and don't know who we are husband and wife, and we just celebrated our 24th anniversary yesterday. So if we sound like we're fighting, we are. No,
it's more of a like making fun of the other person in a joking way.
You should see us when there's no camera on.
Today I worked really hard to make sure we didn't get in a little argument before the cameras came on, because usually we're like, oh, we're running late. Oh, why isn't this working? Oh, blah, 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 blah. So we usually end up with this argument.
That's usually you. Usually I'm like, it's all good. We'll be fine.
And I'm like, why does this always happen?
What is happening right now?
For sure. So mine kind of has a face. It has two eyes, a little mouth.
Moon without a face.
Oh, and there I got some lighter color on my brush that was hiding up above, way up here. That's okay. I'm going to actually add some of that on here. You could totally put Jack Skellington's face on this moon too. We just can't for copyright reasons.
It's never stopped us before.
Well, we're on YouTube now.
Oh, and Disney owns that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, no, the more you say Disney, it's good.
Paul told me today that I need to do a Baby Yoda painting.
No, we just call it the child.
The child, the small green child.
Well, no, technically his name is just the child.
Did he call it the kid?
No, it's the child.
The child? Okay.
That starts back up next week, by the way.
Wow, I'm excited. I really enjoyed it, The Mandalorian.
Season 2 is supposed to be better from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So my moon is very imperfect down here. It's kind of flat. I'm not going to worry about that. That's all going to get covered up. But one thing I want to do is create this hazy glow around the edge of the moon, which looks super cool. And it helps mask any like lumpiness or flat spots you might have. And the way we do this is, our key goal here is to just run the paint out of brush, because this is very much a dry brush technique. There's barely any paint on the brush making that. So a lot of times what I would do right now, if you have a lot of paint on the brush, you can either swipe it off on your moon here and there by adding, you have to have pretty thin paint on your moon. So look, that worked. I got almost all of it off. And then I'm going to start way down here. And I'm just going outside the edge of the moon with very little paint on the brush. And if you need to grab more paint, instead of dipping your brush on your palette, maybe dip it on the moon. So you're picking up very little. And this can, I mean, you can keep going and going with this. I could add more paint to the moon here and go again and again. You can do it to the point that you don't even have a recognizable edge of the moon. And there are times like that where it's real foggy out In fact, we saw it like that. Was it last night when we had this real thin crescent moon? Yes, we were coming back from our anniversary dinner at La Provence.
Shout out, not a sponsor.
Shout out to La Provence. We love that place.
Thank you for having 4 tables available.
That was nice, actually.
Yeah,
I
I'm
liked
glad
it.
they had something available.
Because a lot of times when we've been in there, it's a long wait and super duper busy. And I was thinking maybe I should have called to make reservations. And we get in there and it's like, we're one of 4 tables and I'm okay with that. But I know as a business owner, it's rough, very rough. So go try La Provence, guys. They have delicious food. I had
Located in Beaverton and Lake Oswego.
Beaverton and Lake Oswego, and I think they have one in the Pearl District, maybe.
Do they?
For some reason, I think they do. This is if you're Portland people. I think it's only
It's a local.
up here.
Yeah, it's not a.
It started off as a really tiny bakery in Lake Oswego. Didn't it? I
think
remember
so.
it being there forever.
Yeah.
All right. So remember, you don't have to do that foggy thing down here because that gets completely covered up. So I am going to just add a little more paint here and there to the moon in some spots, leaving some of the black background showing through. I'm not going to push real hard with my brush because if you do that, you can see what happens. You get these funny little start and stop marks, which from far away, it could almost mimic craters on the moon, but from up close, it doesn't look so hot. So I kind of use a light touch with the brush as I add more paint here and there.
Yeah, that's right, because there was very little of a sliver last night of it.
Yeah, tiny. It was really whack looking. But remember the sky when we were driving there?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we were treated to the most amazing skies yesterday. They were wishing us happy anniversary.
There's a couple of artists celebrating their anniversary. Let's give them a show.
Let's give them a show on a highway they cannot pull over on and take a picture.
Where are these people only driving 30 miles an hour? It's a 50-mile-an-hour zone.
So I'm washing my brush now. Wash away, and I think we do stars next. Yes, we do. And then we actually go right into sketching pumpkins. Or one pumpkin at least. No. Yes. Yes, we go to pumpkins next.
Pumpkins?
Okay, so wash the brush, dry it off, set it aside, and we're going to go to something really easy right now. I like easy once in a while. Try to mix it in with our painting classes here and there. Stars. Now, there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can use the brush end, which ends up with a not so round star a lot of times because when you touch the bristles to it, they bend just a little bit so you don't get a perfect circle. It's okay. It's okay not to have perfect circles. I know you do your stars with brushes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
With the brush bristles, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
well,
most of us
not too
have
much.
started using the handle of the brush. You use it like a rubber stamp. And what you do is you dip it in white or yellow, whatever color you want your stars to be. Light blue, it's up to you. Orange. So I'll dip it in there. And what I do before touching the canvas, I dot it off a couple times. Because you can end up with a ginormous star right off the bat. And now I ended up with hardly any. Because I went overboard. Plus the very end of this brush is real pointy, so it's not going to hold a ton of paint. And I just put in stars along the sides if you can fit them in, up in the corners and along the top. No need to get them down here at all. One thing, when painting stars, it's really super common to end up with a polka dot pattern where every single star is the exact distance apart. Our brains love to make patterns, and we want to avoid that. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll cluster a little star grouping together and then move along and cluster another little grouping together. Yeah, I forgot about the sky driving last night at sunset. It was incredible. It was probably one of the craziest sunset skies I've ever seen.
It's a really good time of year for it. You get that kind of double low horizon thing going on.
Yeah, it was so cool. And then it had the clouds, the way they were formed, and the bottom of the clouds was kind of purplish. And then the rest of the sky was like fiery orange. And we said we couldn't really pull over, but then we justified it with, well, it never turns out the same with a camera.
And it really doesn't.
It doesn't.
Not with a cell phone.
Especially a cell phone camera. And then this is kind of funny. When we got home, we watched several...
Two episodes. Two of the three.
2 of the 3 wilderness. I watched all 3.
You watched the other one the night before.
No, it was like early in the day.
Oh.
So I don't know if those of you who are a little older in age like us might remember a movie that came out in the 70s. In fact, the first one was 1975, which was the year I was born. They're called the Wilderness Family, and we had such a good time laughing about the funny camera things and sound and how much stuff filming and acting and everything has improved in that time.
Well, if you think about that movie, really what it was is it was an attempt to modernize Little House on the Prairie.
Yes, I think so.
Because everybody was trying to cash in on the Ingalls family back then.
Well, they did a good job of it. I saw it in my uncle's theater, which is in fact, it's right next to my uncle's. I mean, right next to my uncle's theater is right next to my Selwood studio, so that was kind of cool. Going there when I was like 4 years old to watch the third one or whatever it was.
I just remember watching it on TV, but I'm still thinking that there was a television show that was similar, but
could be.
I don't. I'm failing in tracking it down. Okay. Apparently, the FBI was probably a good decision to avoid.
For your career?
For my career, yeah. Stick with art.
So next, we've got the stars, just like this instruction says, and then we're going to draw this pumpkin in white. And the reason we draw it in white is because we can correct it pretty easily. So it starts off as a ghost pumpkin.
Which one are we doing? The one in the corner?
Yeah, the one in the corner, the hard one. So I'm going to use my middle-sized brush. Go ahead and dip it in the water and just blot it dry on your towel. And then just dip the tip of the bristles in white. We're going to use it like a pen or pencil.
All right.
Let's go ahead and just make a dot first that will represent this. Just a single dot. We can do that. Let's figure out where it's at if you want to do the exact size. So if you were to find the bottom of the canvas, this is probably about, what do you think, Paul? 4 or 5 inches up from the... No, you don't have to do that.
3.
No, it is more
4.
than 3. It's probably, okay, 4 inches. And then it's just like an inch or 2 away from this outside edge. So here's how I eyeball it on my canvas. I will go in, I'll kind of go up here about, just eyeball 4 inches-ish, kind of, sort of. Go over about 1.5 inches. Make a dot. That will become the center of our pumpkin, and you can turn that into a little oval that's at an angle because our whole pumpkin's at an angle. This will help you draw it. If you're a little worried about doing this, pause us and do it in pencil first. Do it in pencil and then pause us to trace it in white paint. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see how this goes. We'll do this, it rounds and touches just the bottom of the canvas here. So that's going to start right about here. Go ahead and round it out nicely. Come back down. And it's just going to touch the bottom of the canvas here. And then I will do one over here too. Drawing it at an angle, it does present a little bit of a challenge, but you can do it just, even if you turn your canvas so that it feels more upright to you, you can do that. So now I'll do the next little segment of pumpkin. It's going to just connect down here. And I guarantee you this will look different than my original. Slightly, at least. It's really hard to get it exact. So I'll replicate that one over here. And I've got room to do another one here. way back here, and right now it's going to connect to that because we don't see the whole side showing through. We're just seeing a part of it. Same with this one. So it connects to the side. And then back here you can just do a curved line across the back, which won't show because your stem is going to completely cover that up. Okay, I gotta look on the monitor to see how it looks. Not bad. Not much like the first one. I mean, not exactly the same. In fact, my first one goes off the side of the canvas, which is fine. You know, yours might be like mine where it doesn't, or if you want it to go off the side, you can just tuck in another segment like that. And when we paint all the colors in, it will mask some of this whackness up here. So I'm going to draw the curved line that divides this one because this is a little bit too big. They should be pretty equal in size, although this front one will be a little wider because we're sort of looking at these at an angle. So you just decide which direction seems best to slightly curve that line, and I'm just going to curve it this way. That's what my brain was telling me to do.
That explains a few things.
And this one I can go back and sort of fix up the curve. How did yours turn out?
Chonky.
Chunky pumpkin.
Chunky pumpkin.
Now you can draw the stem. You can use your littlest brush if you want.
I'm gonna wait.
But don't draw the whole curly Q thing. Just do like it's starting to go into a curl. And I'll do the other side here.
I'm not too worried about mine because I know that when I start doing the color, it'll be fun.
At first they're gonna look really weird, so don't judge your pumpkin right now. Nobody judge your pumpkin. Okay, let's wash the brush, dry it off when you are ready. And what we're gonna do next, we're gonna do these jaggedy, spooky trees that create a little spooky forest here. And then we're gonna paint this, the main tree trunk of this, and then work on the tree. So we do this pumpkin a little bit later. You get a break from painting pumpkins. And the next pumpkin will be much easier to draw. It's a little smaller and it's more straight on, not at a weird angle. What was I thinking? So let's pick up our largest brush. And you can use solid black to do this, or if you want to have a little bit lighter color than black, you could mix a tiny bit of your craft orange with your black. I do like that. I like a slightly brownish shade, so I am going to pull aside some black.
Oh, I didn't do my stars.
Mix a little bit of orange to it. You don't want it to turn brown. You just want it to be like, it's almost like off black. Slightly brown. So the two colors side by side, one is like a true onyx and the other one is almost grayish. I'm gonna play around with that a little. Okay, so for these woods, we draw them all the way across and then we just stop right here because there's no need to go behind this pumpkin or anything. We just want it to stop, get real short right through here. So it's almost like it goes down a hill. And so these ones over here are going to be really tall, and then as we just go down, they just get shorter and shorter till finally they meet up with our little pumpkin here. And the technique that I use is one, if you've painted with us before, we've done it lots of times, I'll use my paper here. So we use the vertical edge, the skinny edge of the brush. And you think of this like a heart rate monitor or a sound wave. I'm just jiggling my brush up and down. And then I usually will go back and I'll just make some of these peaks a little taller. That looks like the Eye of Sauron needs to go right in there.
It could.
It totally could. Why not? And then as we get closer to that pumpkin, they get real short. So they just sort of disappear behind it. So yeah, you're literally just going to... Don't lift your brush in between each brush stroke. I have it glued to the paper here. Wiggling up and down. And there's plenty of opportunities to adjust the height, so just get the base on there. How tall do we want these to go? Let's see, I'll start it at the halfway point, like here's where I'll set my brush down, and I'm just gonna go up from there. If you think of these as like tall, rundown church spires, that's kind of cool. It's a little spookier that way. So I'm going down as I'm getting closer to the pumpkin. You can see I'm clearly going down at an angle. Looks like Charlie Brown's shirt. Or you can turn this into a big mouth all the way across the moon. There's a cool painting idea for next year. So now is when I would go back and I would add to this. I would add some taller, more spire-like trees. And you can even just dot your brush on the canvas. Dr. Seuss trees. Spooky Dr. Seuss. Then I will paint down so we don't have any bit of the moon showing behind the bottom edge of these trees. And it's just going to, you just paint over the moon. We're going to put some mossy, grassy color down there. If your color here is very different than the black, bring it all the way down. But if it's real close to the black, just brush it down until it meets the black. And you can use your littlest brush, or one of your small brushes, your medium or little one, and you can touch up some of these small ones if needed and come really close to the edge of the pumpkin, and like right here, I'll clean up that area. You can add some itty bitty ones, spikes in here.
Now, normally when I would be teaching something like this in the studio, I'd be like, fight that urge to put some branches on these trees. But since you're on your own time at home, if you want to take the time to put branches on a couple of the bigger ones, it's not going to hurt it.
They're like, they remind me of the cypress tree in Van Gogh's Starry Night. They're kind of formless. Not quite a fir tree, but not quite a deciduous tree.
Right.
So I think branches might be something that would be out of place on here.
It depends on your comfort level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. It looks like a Tim Burton paused scene on a movie.
It does.
Except for that part.
Except for that part.
That part we'll just ignore. For now. Let's get the main tree that leans across the moon. Let's see where it starts out. So you're going to have this little stem to contend with, maybe, unless you place your tree above it like this one ended up. So I could do that, but I think the way mine goes, it's probably going to cut right through. That's okay. That'll show an extra little challenge in case you have that placement like that. So we just do this main trunk. Ignore all these spiky things. Ignore even this branch up here. It's just literally a line that goes from here off the top of the canvas. A leaning tree that's really wobbly is most welcome here. I, for some reason, have my big brush. It left in the water, so I'm going to clean it off. We may not use this big brush again. I think we mainly use the medium-sized brush. Okay, so you want to use either pure black or that shade we made here. That's what I'm going to go for, is that shade that I made with the black and a little orange mixed in it, although I need a little bit more. And one of the things I like to do when I'm painting something that stretches across a canvas, I like to add a drop or two of water to the paint to liquefy it. You don't want it so liquid that it would drip down your canvas, like if you had your canvas on an easel. But you want it thinned out to the consistency I always compare it to is like heavy cream. So you know heavy cream is kind of runny, but also kind of thick. And that's what we want. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start way down here. And, oh, it kind of cut across my, I don't like that. I don't like it when it will cut right across. So I'm going to actually bring it down here a little bit and have the stem kind of cross over it. Okay. Less thinking for me. I'm going to go all the way up to the top and off the top of the canvas. Now the tree is quite a bit thicker where it grows, where it comes out of the ground, which we don't see, but we see this part. And that having this nice thickness, this is probably, if I were to measure this, it's probably a little over 1 inch wide. And I purposely made this part go out where the hole in the tree is. Something is roosting and nesting in there. So I'm going to jump up from here about 1.5 inches, just like if you were to measure with a ruler, about 1.5 inches up, kind of, sort of ish. And
You
up.
keep using my catchphrases. I'm going to have to send you a bill.
It's not copyrighted.
It is now.
So as I'm traveling up here, I'm getting closer and closer to that original line. So you can see I'm paralleling the line. I am going to change this up and make it a little more, have a little more character like that original tree. But for now, just get this on here. And as you get up to here, it should be just like maybe 1/4 inch wide, the whole thing. And go ahead and fill it on in. And then we will spookify our tree by adding knobbiness and twistiness and lots of tree branches. But for now, just get this part filled in. My stem is going to come and curl down like this later, but I think when I paint the color in on the stem, it'll disappear for a little while later on. Okay, so now is when I'll take a look, and if it looks way too bell-bottomy, like this went out too wide and this is too thin, I'll come in and I'll maybe thicken it up here. Sometimes purposely jiggle your brush a little bit. A good knobby tree is perfect. And then decide where you want the little hole, or not hole, in the tree to be. I'm going to do mine right about here. So I'm going to bulge out. If you want to bulge out on the other side, you can, but I tried not to make it like at the same level, so I might bulge further down here.
Got it. If you're having a good time, hit like.
Yeah!
I always feel so cheesy doing all those catchphrases that all the YouTubers do, but yeah, you gotta do it.
Mm-hmm. Hit like and subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 people, which is awesome. We're super excited about that. All right. My tree looks like a snake that swallowed an egg. I'm only going to use this medium brush maybe for 2 branches, and then I'm going to switch to the smallest brush. So the 2 branches I like to do that are a little bit larger would be, so we've got, right now, we've got this that comes up to here. So I will add that one and that one. And in fact, this one, let's not take it all the way to the end of the canvas. We'll take it to about here, and then we'll switch to the little brush and continue it off with the small brush. So just follow along with me. I will guide you the way. So right up in here, maybe about halfway or so up the tree, I'm going to draw a branch that goes off the top of the canvas. So this ends up being sort of a weird Y shape. And it's always going to be a little thicker where it grows out of the tree, and then it just gets skinnier and skinnier out towards the end. And up here, it's going to disappear for a while until we get some highlights on the tree bark later on. And then the other branch, so this I can work with here. The other branch I want to add is this one. I told you we're just going to go to about here. I need a little more paint. Look at you. You're just skipping way ahead.
Yeah,
Rude.
I didn't really. I'm just trying to stay on target.
You could go sand the wall in there for a little bit.
I could. It would be annoying, but...
So I'm not going to do this perfectly lined up. I'm going to come up here. And like I said, about to here. I'm going to thicken that up. Now, little brush. So let's wash this off. I don't like the way this looks. It's driving me nuts, but I'm just gonna have to avoid that area with my eyes for a while. Okay, so I have a lot of branches. The more branches you add, the cooler your tree looks. And I made sure to put in a few broken branches too. That's pretty easy. You just go up and you stop. Maybe do 2. Go up like you're doing a branch and then just stop. And you can do more than one of those, but let's get our little twiggy branches on first. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to branch off of this guy and come off at an angle. So again, it's like the original tree shape. That's a Y shape, and that's what they do. They grow up and out, always competing for the light source, which is the sun. So they're going up and out towards the sun. There are not a lot of trees that have branches that hang downwards, but I've seen them. Like willow trees, I guess, would technically be like that.
Yeah, but they all hang downwards on those.
Yeah. And now I'm going to continue this off the top here.
You're delving into one of my pet peeves.
What's that?
The who's it's.
Oh, the who's it brushes. Who's it branches.
Yeah.
That's such a weird term, Paul. You and your weird terms.
Well, I had a different term for it, but it wasn't appropriate for kids.
Okay, so I'm going to branch off of this one too. And the more of this sort of thing that you add, the better. I'll do one right here. We're just building our tree branch by branch. Practice, here, let me move this aside. Practice pressure. So you press hard, then lighten your pressure as you get out towards the end of the branch. And that's how you get that nice thick down here, thin up here. It's all about how much pressure you use. What I've noticed is most beginning painters will press a little too hard. I've done it too, we all do it. But you just get used to the flow of when you're painting a tree, you press hard at the base of the branch and then gradually lighten up, and then it will just become automatic. Okay, let's see, I'll add a little broken branch in here. And maybe I'll just add a couple off of these. I like these little spiky things. I'm going to now add the claw branches. So right now we have a good base going. This tree would work for any painting. But we're going to make a tree that only works for Halloween paintings. And so we're going to add this claw / branch and this one. And then just a few twigs off of those. And then our tree will be, that part of the tree will be done. All right, don't be nervous.
Too late.
I'm nervous. I'll just do this one here. It comes down and just sharply curves like a hook.
Of course, you could be like me and just chicken out and not do them all together.
That's true. That's okay. Now, I think of these like snowman fingers, like when you draw a snowman when you're a kid, or you know, you think about a painting of a snowman. They have the 3 or 4 fingers that are literally sticks, twigs at the end of this branch. So I have 3 claws. I think I'm gonna stick with that with this one. I like the look of that. If you don't have room, you don't have to do 2 sets of claws. But if you do, I say go for it. Add more if you want. I'm gonna do the one that comes out right about here. Same thing, draw the hook first. and thicken it a little bit where it grows out of the tree. It'll make it look a little more natural in that regard. The rest of the tree is totally not natural. And again, claw fingers. I tried to make this one maybe a little different than that first one. Although it looks like it's going to end up being pretty darn close to the same. Here, I'll make this finger go way out here. Actually, I like that. That's pretty good.
Don't sound so surprised. You're good at what you do.
Yeah, but teaching live, it always adds a little pressure. I'm going to say it will. Yeah, it's a bit of pressure. All right, so I'll just do a little branch here. And these could be claws as well if you want to really make like a tree with multiple hands.
Do you ever have one of those moments?
Broken branch here or there.
You ever have one of those moments where you're teaching in person and like you do something and it just didn't go the way you wanted it to, and you're just like your mind's going, oh no.
How am I gonna fix this? I am in front of 32 people.
And I'm gonna pretend like I meant to do that.
How do I BS my way around this? It's true. Sometimes that happens.
That didn't.
Okay, everyone, follow me into the dark. Okay, so add a couple extra. I'm liking these broken branches. They really make it look a little spookier. If you need to go back and reshape anything, like especially this little bulgy area that we did, feel free to do that with your little brush. I'm going to try not to look too hard at my spot with the stem. That just hurts my brain. And I think what it is I think this doesn't perfectly line up right. I'm not looking for perfection, but it looks like this gouge is in here. So I'm going to bring this out a little wider. Looks a little better. I don't think it'll even be noticeable later, so I should stop playing around with it.
Quit it.
Okay, next step. We're done with the tree, unless you want to go back and add any more claws or branches. Looks like my limbs are a little shorter on the new painting than they are on the old one, but definitely look very spooky. We're going to draw the second pumpkin now. So this one is a bit smaller. If this is like small bowling ball, this is like large grapefruit.
That is the tiniest bowling ball I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was thinking it's like a kid bowling ball.
Those like the the play sets you get at the store that are like cheap, and it comes with like the little like what?
Yes,
6
the
little
lawn
bowling
bowling set.
No, not the
toddler
ones,
bowling.
but the toddler bowling. Yeah, we've got one.
We
out.
had one.
We have it. It's still out in the garage. I don't know why.
I think we had 2 at one point. We had one for Hayden and then one that we got probably for Greta. Okay, so this pumpkin's going to be placed in here. The size I mentioned, I said large grapefruit, but honestly, just do what fits here. If it's a navel orange, that's fine. If it's one of those tiny little gourd pumpkins, that would be cool too. And until we paint grass around, it's literally just going to be floating. So let's do what I told you about earlier and place a little oval. Or even a dash, just something to mark where the stem is going to be. And don't worry if this turns kind of gray. Like I've got wet paint underneath, so I can see mine's a little gray, but it gets covered with so much paint, you don't even have to think about it. So don't stress. Okay.
Too late. I'm stressed.
So I'm going to make this one, the middle, kind of looks like I'm drawing like a weird vase. I'm going to make it a little bigger, actually. I was heading for the too small arena. Okay, if you feel like you need to use a small brush for this, go right ahead. I'm just using the very tip of the bristles of my medium-sized brush. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. You know, I actually thought about calling this painting the Great Pumpkin.
Mm.
But then I thought, this...
I'm not a big fan of like taking other people's names and...
Yeah, it's kind of like, feels weird.
It's almost copyright issue, but you can't really copyright a name. But still, it's one of those things.
Okay, I'm happy with that size. I do need to do the little curved line back here for the back. Oh, my hand is shaking.
What's the matter?
I must be nervous.
Why are you so nervous? Girl, you rock it.
Now draw the stem whenever, just a little, like we did the first one. A little half crescent moon, a little hook. And we're gonna move along. I think what we do next is shade white on the, no, actually, what we do next is, no, just thinking out loud here. Okay, we are gonna use white on this same brush. Might as well do this part because we've already got the brush in hand. So this top part of the pumpkins, we need to be a really light, bright orange later on because the moon is casting a really bright light on it. This area is gonna be more in shade, so we're not gonna put as much white there. And same with this pumpkin, this area, and then as we get over here, a little less white streaked in there. So I'm gonna just start right here, because it's a nice big area. Leave some paint space underneath, so some of that stuff you did earlier, just leave it showing through. You're literally just gonna scribble. Follow the curve of the way this pumpkin goes. And see how I'm kind of, like I said, kind of scribbling. We will bring these segment dividing lines back with a darker color. So it just looks like our pumpkin has a little bit of a wig on. A little white wig. Got an Andy Warhol look going on there. And let's see, I'll get a little bit over here, just a touch, the top. Okay, that's about all I want. As I add more. Now I'm gonna go for this, I just poked you with my brush.
I hadn't noticed.
I'm gonna go and do this one. Just start with these ones that are facing the moon. And you can see on both of them, I'm just going about halfway down. No biggie if you go a little further or a little shorter. And as I get over here, not much. A little on the top. Ghost pumpkins. All right. I'm gonna wash my brush. We're gonna paint the stems of these pumpkins and then we will paint the segment dividers with the same color that we paint the stems in, maybe a tiny bit more black mixed in. And then we're gonna put some highlights on our tree that kind of create this cool twistiness that the tree has. So let's take our littlest brush when you're ready. Or you could use a medium brush. Like this one, I'll use the littlest brush. This one, I'm definitely going to use the medium brush. I mean yeah. Sorry. I can't think today.
It's because I'm sitting next to you.
Is that what it is?
Like,
All right, so let's grab a little orange, plop it down in this mix you did earlier when we painted these trees on. And I'm going to add a little more black to it. I'll have it be maybe a tiny bit lighter than this shade was, so it's more on the browner side, slightly browner. And I am using my medium-sized brush because this is a little bit bigger stem. Go ahead and cover all the white. Just come right down and just trace what we drew first. Because we don't want to draw down in here too much because that's all wet white paint. But the stem itself should be mostly dry. If you need to use the little brush to touch up, like, or to get right to the edge of this white, you can do that. And we do add some very similar highlights to the stems that we do on the tree. Because they're actually, if you look at a pumpkin stem, they're like fluted. They have some texture. So now I'm going to take and make this fun curl. You can make a really open curl or you can make it really tight. But it's going to be real thin on the ends and then thicken up as you get further down closer to the pumpkin. My highlights later will make that show up. Right now it literally looks like it's part of the tree. And now I'm going to paint this one in. It's a little wet. I need one, like a little battery dryer. You know what? Now's a good time for a refill. Where did our wine go?
I get it. Mm-hmm.
What?
Yep.
That is
It's a foamy,
bubbling.
It's a foamy, bubbly wine.
You know, it's not my favorite rosé. I'm not gonna say the brand because I don't like dissing other things because someone might really like it.
It's not bad. I don't dislike it. But saying something's not your favorite is not that.
Yeah.
It's not that condemning.
I'll drink it. It's alcohol.
It's not
I'll
that.
drink it.
It's not that condemning to say that.
Okay. Well, I'm still not gonna say the brand. But yeah, it's kind of a. It's funny because the flavor notes on the bottle say aroma of strawberries and dark cherries, and I literally sniffed it, and it smells so sour and tart. It's like the berries that aren't in season. They didn't list that part.
If it wasn't bubbly, I would almost think it was corked. But with it being bubbly, it's pretty hard for it to be corked.
All right, so I'm just tracing over. The stem, and this one you can do, again, you can do the curl, or you can, I'll do this one different. I'm gonna have it go really whack. It's gonna go woo, have to make the noise too. You can barely see it, so later on, I'll make it stand out with a little bit lighter color. Yeah, I think my favorite sparkling rosé is the Sawtooth Bubbly. Sawtooth Bubbles, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, they have a really good sparkling rosé. They are out of Idaho.
Yeah.
Woman-owned business. Woman-owned winery.
Snake River Valley.
Snake River Valley. So where is that in Idaho?
It's kind of right along the Oregon and Idaho border.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to make these pumpkin segment divider lines, whatever. There's probably some Latin term that if you say it out loud, it'll summon a demon.
Pumpkin demon. It's a great pumpkin child.
What's its Latin name? Oh, crap. Okay, so I'm going to add a little more black to that mixture that we painted the pumpkin stems with. So it's real close in color to the tree, or this, back again. And I'm going to add a drop of water. I'm using my middle size brush. The reason I add the water is, again, we're doing longer lines. And these are going to be really thick and high contrast at first. Use the medium-sized brush probably for this one. If you're a little more heavy-handed, use the little brush. I think I'm going to use the little brush for this one because it's so much smaller. But just use the very tip of your medium-sized brush if that's what you're using. And trace along your original white lines. A little bit of the white showing through is totally fine. It's going to get covered with orange. But we just want to bring those back. If your white is still wet, pause us and hair dry it. Or blow on it. Do something. Or just wait. Oh, this one, I have to try to remember where it was. Did I have one? No, I can do it down here. That's how I can figure it out. Right there. And did I outline? Yeah, I did. I actually did outline right along the edge here. Shockingly. And this little last segment across the back here. And this guy.
I added a third pumpkin
Let's see, where?
down this corner.
Oh, that looks nice. I like that.
Mine kind of, there was something left to be desired after the second pumpkin, and it felt out of balance.
Partly it's because we had the grass, because right now it's just floating, so it looks very
No,
strange.
I think it's because mine ended up very small and very floating by itself.
Okay. All right, so probably most of us will want to use our little brush. So I've got paint on this. So a lot of times what I do, I like to just scrape it off or turn and spin and pull my brush just to get excess off. So I savor each last drop of paint, and I'll use my little guy and trace these. Leave a little bit of white on this one if you can, because it'll help you find them later down here below. And we'll cover it with orange anyway.
I think I've got an idea for our business.
Oh.
Once we get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, let's do a world tour. Let's take the show on the road.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll do a pit stop in
I'm an introvert.
Denver and one in Los Angeles. And
You're dreaming big, dude.
I said 100,000 followers.
No.
That's a
you're dreaming
lot.
Big. All right. So
Never quit dreaming.
You're
So if you want to see us live in your neck of the woods, follow the channel.
Tell all your friends. Okay, so now I didn't need to wash my brush. I guess I just did out of habit. I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to leave this to dry. And see, you can still see the pumpkin outlines. You can still see the shape of the pumpkin. Right now it's just sort of slightly blending into the background, and we'll add that orange on there and it will be great. But right now let's switch gears and let's go ahead and start working on our tree for the highlights. Now I do want to mix some orange back in with my brown. This was black and orange mixed together, but I'm mixing more orange, turning it a lighter shade of brown so that it shows up better. And the first thing I want to do is draw the knot hole. And what I did is I started with kind of a teardrop shape, and I'm kind of sketching it in, so I'm not like connecting my brush every single time. So that it looks a little more natural. And you can check it and see if you need to add more orange. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more. And then I'm going to bring this down here across, and I'm going to add several lines that go off the side of the tree. So this is probably about 1/2 inch wide. And then under that, I would go a different direction. Maybe just down. So this is how I'm getting that sort of twisting look. I feel like I could still add a little more orange. It's not going to hurt you to have several different shades of brown going on here. Do I hear someone singing? Someone's radio?
Somebody's radio in their car is just really loud.
You will all hear my music. Okay, so then up here I'm going to add some more lines. So these are always just little dashes, little broken up lines, which make it look like actual tree bark, or that you've attempted to draw tree bark. And that twisty thing where it kind of went one direction for a while and then switched direction, you can do that all the way up if you want. That's kind of fun. Here, I'll go up one of these branches. These branches that disappear over the moon, you can do a little highlight up those too, so they aren't completely gone. We actually add some yellow highlights later, so you don't have to worry about any kind of like shading and highlight right now. Like if I was doing a hyper realistic painting, I would keep all this light stuff on the edges because this side is going to be facing away from the moon. But you know, it can be still visible.
Well, our little downtown here is deadly quiet after about 8:30, it seems.
Sleepy little Hallmark town.
So we have been doing our classes on Fridays. So we were getting a lot more.
Was our last one on Friday?
No, but over the summer.
Yeah. Over the summer and then during like the heart of the pandemic where everybody was having to stay home, we were like, Friday night painting time. This is fun doing this sort of thing. I really enjoyed it. I could do a whole forest of these and just play around. Because you can really alter the way the tree looks. Take a basic dark shade and just by the use of highlight and brush strokes, completely change it. So in the instructions, I have us adding the little eyes in here, but let's do that later when we add the other eyes in the lower forest. If you want to add the eyes, you don't have to. I always think in here, maybe there's a little owl that lives in there.
Always thinking about owls.
Yep. Looks like a good place for an owl to hang. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to these guys. We'll start with the big one because it's probably the most dry. Let's see what step we're on. So we just completed this. Now we are on step 8. We're going to shade the bottom of the pumpkins and go right up and just slightly overlap the white. Just let them meet together. So the bottom of our pumpkins is actually going to look almost slightly like rotting pumpkins, but it's just temporary. It'll all go together when we have the highlighting on. So we want to use the same color that we just highlighted the tree with. Maybe even a tiny bit more orange in it. Maybe not. So it's a little bit lighter than what we outlined our segments with. And I'm literally going to take in with my medium brush on this one. I do want to add some more orange to it. We can glaze over the whole pumpkin with a little more orange later. But we just want this darker reddish rusty brown shade on each segment. And this is where I would work on covering up any white lines that still remain. Let it just meet and mingle with that white paint that we painted on the top. When we were at the beach, I did a watercolor tutorial that was pumpkins. That was fun.
Aggressive water. I mean, brush cleaning.
I remember I had one student in the class when we had our tired studio that like the whole class was pretty quiet. We were doing ornaments and everybody was pretty focused on what they were doing. And every time
I remember that class.
Every time we washed, yeah, how could you not remember that class?
Well, I mean, I was there. Because I'm not always at all.
No, when I tell you later, you'll remember the class.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about right now. Just the fact that you even pointed that out.
So anyway, back to my story. This one person was like aggressively washing her brush to where the point where I thought she was like, I was like, oh my gosh, she must hate me. She must hate the class. She just seems so mad.
You know it's the same person, right?
No. Was it?
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't mad. She was just not feeling well. We'll just put it that way.
No, she was not feeling well.
And anyway, I kept thinking, oh, she must hate this class, or like, what am I doing wrong? And she just hates me. She's so aggressive with her brush washing. And Nope, I don't think that was it. I looked at her several times, just like stealing a glance here and there just to make sure, like, is everything okay?
It wasn't.
So I was looking at the wrong person then.
I'm pretty sure it was the same person.
All right, so I'm going to use, I've got some white down here that I kind of want to cover up. So I'm just going to take some dark color, black and orange or just black. And cover that up along the edge here. Just clean up that edge. And any spots where you still have too much white outlining remaining. There you go, aggressive with the water and cleaning. Watch it. These are nice brushes, Paul.
It sounds worse than it is.
All right. And same with this one. I've only got a few spots that, I mean, I'm going to put some orange, glaze some orange down in there later, probably. But might as well, since I've got the paint on my brush, might as well clean up anything that looks like it's going to stand out. All right. Looking good, looking good. We actually don't have a huge amount left to do. Just enough to get it all to where it's looking more finished. Right now, I do want to, now that my stems are nice and dry, I do want to highlight those. And I've already got the color mixed that I want to use. So that's that color you were just working with and your little brush. And you can literally just draw little lines in here. I think mine needs to be a tiny bit lighter, because these are sort of fluted. So I'm doing it a lot like I did the tree trunk. Just some lines and leaving some dark spots in between. Obviously this one over here is so small that I can't really do anything other than a single line highlight. And later on, after we do all the orange and stuff, we'll bring the stem down so it looks more natural, not just plopped right on there. Now we are ready to go with the pure orange. My pumpkins are definitely looking very rotted on the bottom. And I did glaze over the whole thing with orange, but I started with the top where it's white because we want pure orange right across there. So I'm gonna wash my medium-sized brush. And we let the, once we start at the top and work our way down, let the wet paint just meet each other. And we'll go from there. So I'll start with this main front segment here. Leaving the outlines, but you can almost reduce the size of them if needed by bringing some of your orange in a little closer and thinning them out. Now here where the two colors meet is kind of cool. They're going to mix right on there, and I just bring the orange down, let my brush run out of paint. So then instead of having a rotted look, you have more of a natural shade where it looks just like, oh, this part's away from the light source. And I just do that with every single one that has white on it, the top. Leave it kind of streaky. Like I love this, where it's pretty streaky right through there. If you need to use a small brush in any of these areas, feel free to switch it up.
Yeah, I gave somebody the other day the which brush should I be using for this? And it was whichever one feels most comfortable for you.
Yeah, I have been saying that a lot. I realize I've changed sort of over the years. We do change how we teach, and I've been saying that a lot to people. This is what I'm using, but you use whatever feels.
Because
that's
the real answer.
And it's not just the most comfortable like in your hand, it's the most comfortable for your brain.
Right, whichever one makes most sense to you. Mm-hmm. Because I know that like when you and I both paint, we've both been painting for a long time. What brush makes sense to me? Sorry, leg cramp.
You need me to punch it?
Jeez, this is bad. What brush? Whew.
You doing okay there? You need to mix in some more calcium and magnesium.
Well, I kind of had a busy
water.
Day today. So, but what brush makes sense to me doesn't always make sense to you, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you like to use really rugged brushes.
Right. Well, and I tend to use bigger brushes than most people are comfortable with for what we're doing.
Yes, indeed, you do. So you still should you should still have shading. It should be a definite orange to darker orange. If you've lost this darkness down here, I want you to take your brush, wash it off, go back to this color, and just let it intermingle with the wet orange paint just to darken it a little bit. So you'll shade the bottom again.
Let it flow.
And now I'm going to go down to my little guy. Same thing. Start at the top. This one will be a little drier probably. But just let your brush run out of paint as you get down here. So you're glazing over that shaded area with a thinner amount of paint than you started with up here.
We're at an hour and a half, by the way.
Cool. Yeah, we'll be done shortly.
A couple of you are total troopers hanging with us this whole time.
Yeah.
And we're starting to get more and more people on the East Coast, and you put that in perspective, it's midnight.
That's late. I know. Maybe we should adjust the time. Because when we first started, we were like, oh, it's going to be all Van Gogh customers. And it was. It was all Portland people or surrounding area. And
just
now
more
we've got boxes all over. And so maybe we should rethink our paint time.
Yeah, I know we've got several in Florida now.
Huh. That's cool.
One in Connecticut, a couple in New York.
We've got the Hales in Wyoming. Shout out to the Hales.
Oh yeah, you know what? We got a new Patreon patron. We've got two. We've got Rachel Sipp.
Yay, Rachel!
And then Jen Welton.
Yay, Jen! Jen's been with us since our very first studio 9 years ago.
Both of them have been big supporters of us for a long time.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We really do.
And actually, it's one thing I just remembered when I talked about our original studio. We just celebrated Van Gogh's 9th anniversary. 9 years of business, October 12th. And it was quite the landmark. I had a different business partner, Kim, when I opened. And we thought it would be a 5-year business. And here we are, 9 years later, still doing it. So we're super glad that people still want to paint. So now I'm going to use my smallest brush and just get any of these areas that were harder to reach with the medium brush. Or maybe you've already switched to your little brush. And then if you need to refresh or darken up any of these segment lines, do that now. I kind of want to illustrate a children's book.
Do it.
I know, I was thinking about it, like, since I love owls, I could do some, like, owl story. with all my spare time.
I knew there was
I have all
something.
these
I knew you were
goals.
going to say something.
I have all these goals and things that are just in the back of my mind, and
You just got to do them.
I need to do them during
Quit
our
making
slow
excuses.
season.
No, quit making excuses and just step up and do them.
Okay, I'll let you do all the other stuff.
Fine.
Yeah, so I love this. Now with the shading, they look, especially this one, looks very shapely rather than just being a round pumpkin. This one is more looking like a round pumpkin, but it might be because it's so large. Like if I were doing a painting that I was able to take a whole lot of time with, I would shade in between, like I'd shade a slightly darker color along the segment line so it looks like it's really recessed. And
That's all stuff that people can play around with on their own, too, which is cool.
For sure. We are getting down to the last steps. We're on step 10. 11 is our last step.
How could that be? I'm ready for second dinner, I can tell you that.
The baked potato didn't fill you?
2 baked potatoes. You gave me 2.
Yeah, they were kind of small. Okay, so I'm going to actually change the order of a step here. And next I would actually, I'm just thinking here.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
I won't. Because I just glanced at my painting and this part here on the orange is actually looking like it might be dry enough to paint a little yellow on the areas that face the moon. So the moon, yeah, I can tell it's not quite there. We'll do that momentarily. So we're going to switch gears. And we're going to paint the grass. And I believe, if I remember right, I mixed blue, yellow, and I toned it down with a little orange so that it ends up making not super bright green. We wanted more of a...
That almost went in my wine glass.
We want more of a... like an army green or almost like a swampy green.
Swampy. So
So I'll take and pull a little yellow aside. Make sure that's on camera. You can see it, right?
Yep.
And then I'll dip the tip of my bristles in blue. This is the first time we've used blue, unless you're Paul. You've used it throughout your painting.
I have.
I would say it's probably 2 parts blue to 1 part yellow. Maybe even 3 parts blue. Maybe more. I'm not making enough paint. This is like Oregon ducks right here. And now I'm going to grab a little orange. And look what this does. It makes it a completely different shade of green. A definite more natural green. The other one was very Kelly green. And I could even darken it a little more by adding more orange, or you could even quit messing with my paint.
You're supposed to be mixing for both of us.
You're totally doing your own thing through the whole painting, so just hush. You could even mix a tiny dot of black if it feels like it's too light when you paint it on, because it is, in the original, it's pretty dark down in there. And then we have some little bit lighter grass that goes up. So if you're going to darken this, leave some of it light, or just plan on mixing a little more. And I'm literally just going to paint under this pumpkin. We're not really worried about painting actual grass. Think of it more like a bed of moss. Go right up to the bottom edge of the pumpkin. You could even let your brush run out of paint, similar to how we did the moon where we have some of the background showing through. That's just going to help make it look like it's got different tones going on. I'm going to go up between each pumpkin a little bit on each side, and then we're going to convert to grass blades. Okay, for the grass, obviously we want to use our little brush. And I'm going to mix a little more yellow with this green, or use the lighter shade if you left a lighter shade. And then I use very light pressure and just literally like a couple little flicks of the brush. Maybe add a drop of water. A few little flicks of the brush to make some grass in between the pumpkins. Over here you might have more room. There. And you could even mix a little like white in there to make some blades of grass that are really a pale green. Because as you know, there are lots of different shades of grass. The HOA doesn't like that where we live. They call it weeds. Okay, yeah, I like that with the lighter grass. I know I kind of did that on the original, only maybe not as intense. Cool. Okay. Let's get a little yellow on these pumpkins now, and then we will finish the stems the way they grow in there. Ugh, green. Wash the brush. Dry it off. I found I have to roll the brush on the towel because I get drips of water that stay on the metal ferrule and then they roll down and plop on my painting. So we're just gonna glaze some of these pumpkin segments that are closest to the moon carefully as I go over my segment area. And maybe over here too, a little. Don't have a lot of room back here. And here. If it's too intense, mix it with a little orange. Make a Sunny Delight color, and that will work just perfect. Just a little orange though. You don't want to lighten it too much. We definitely want it more of a yellowy shade. And I guess I could put a tiny bit here. Squeaky metal chairs.
I thought we were supposed to get new chairs.
We were supposed to. So the base color of our stems was like this color, very close. Might have had a tiny bit more orange in it. I have to try to remember. So let's do that, black and orange. I'm gonna mix it with my medium brush, but I'll probably paint it with my little brush. So basically you want it to match the segment color, the outline. The outlines on my new one are a little bit darker than this one. And that's an easy fix. Like I could go over this with a, like I'll just do an example. I could mix a lighter shade of that dark brown and go over it with that. Could go even lighter. You just, obviously you want it to be darker than the orange color next to it. But if you feel like those ended up too dark, that's something you can definitely do. I'm doing too much. Okay, let's go back to the original train of thought here. Black and orange to match the base of the stem color or your segment outline color. And I think of this like a claw or like a, almost like octopus tentacles that come down and literally grow and become the segment. So see how I'm kind of rounding in between each? And obviously we can't do anything to what's on the back. So it's just primarily this front area. And I could add extra, like I could add some little extra bits in here that come down. If you've ever had a stem break when you've gotten a pumpkin, you know that's how it looks. It has these funky little lines in here. If it ends up being like it doesn't blend in with the rest of the stem, just take a little of your lighter orange brown mixture and bring some highlighting back down in there. But I think it's okay. It matches pretty good on mine. And then this one too, same thing. Whatever your stem color, base color is, Or somewhere in between, the highlight and the stem color would be fine. So there, now it looks like the stem's a little more connected, and you can definitely add a few little lines in between. I'm liking it. I'll show you an extra credit step. Mix some water with the color you were just using and your little brush. You want it pretty fluid. And if you're really good at loop-de-loops, you can totally do one of these. Or two. Oh, that one's not going to show up. That needs to have more orange. That's fun. Just don't hold your breath. Just do it. Just go right for it without thinking about it. And they don't have to be perfect curls. They can be like, I've seen them before where they're nice and wavy and loose, and then suddenly it's like kink, 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 kink at the very end. So if it's uneven, you've done a better job than me because I'm looking at mine. They're all the exact same size. All right, I think we're at our second to last step. The last step it's not just one full step. It's got a few things. Do this, do this, do this. What I want to do is we'll do the eyes last. I want to create these light yellow highlights. They're on the tree. They match the moon color, and also this is like a final shine on the pumpkin and stems. So you want to use your little brush, and we're going to mix white and yellow. And you know, I'm going to mix it with my medium brush because I try not to mix colors with my small brush. It's so little that using the stirring motion and mashing it down, it's just going to damage the bristles. So I do all of my mixing with these heartier, larger brushes. So I'll pop down some yellow, then about twice as much white into that. I think I picked up something else in there.
You know that mixing is exactly what a palette knife was invented for.
Yeah, true. We better sell those or include them in the kit. Okay, so it makes a very...
Now you just committed it.
It makes a very buttery shade. I'm going to add maybe a tiny bit of yellow. I just wanted it a little warmer. Yeah, it's very similar to, like, I've called it like lemon curd before, lemon yogurt. Littlest brush now, and let's go ahead and highlight the tree first. So I don't highlight the whole thing. I'll just pick some areas that are close to the moon and just do a few streaks, especially like along here. Maybe a few of these branches, but these branches are so skinny that if you add a yellow highlight in here, it might make the branch disappear. So I'm honestly just using it in these larger areas and not much. Let's see, I could put a little down here maybe. Help separate that stem that seems to want to blend in with the tree forever.
It knows what it wants.
It knows what it wants. Let's see, on this one I actually highlighted this other edge of this circle here. I kind of like that. I'm not pushing very hard. Honestly, it's like my brush is just sort of like gliding across the canvas, the very tip of the bristles. Now I'll highlight the stem. Same way I did the tree. A few broken up streaks that are closer to the moon. And same with this little stem here. This one's a little harder because it's so small for me. I think I just made it look not as good. Oh, that was a final flourish you just did. That was the I am finished.
I am finished.
Final flourish. I could highlight this.
I'm going to do the critter eyes.
Yeah, go ahead. I think you know how to do it.
Yeah, I think I can figure it out.
And then the highlight on the pumpkins, I pick like one area just to highlight like a curve. So you can see these are very small, and they're all, like if I were to draw a diagonal line, they're all kind of in the same general area. So let's see. I'm going to start with this one and just highlight. And then I'll do this one here. I could spread some of that out with my fingertip. It was looking a little too, like every single one looked exactly the same, which I don't like. Try to make it a little different. And then this one over here. This one area is, I've been fighting with it because it won't dry. I think I've got too much paint there.
I've kind of got a couple areas like that where I'm just like, it's not so much as it won't dry, it's just it won't do what I want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had that happen.
We have. Then the pumpkins are officially done unless you want to go back and lighten any of the segment lines, which again, that would be black and orange, but a little more orange, just to make it more of a brown color, similar to what we did for our tree highlights. I am going to now draw the critter eyes, which is the last step. Now you can leave these off if you want, or if you want to make something that's maybe less scary, 2 little round eyes. These eyes just look kind of angry.
I did a combination.
If you're going to do round eyes, just do the handle dots like we did on the stars. And I just did some little eyes in the woods there with my little baby brush. So I'll start with the tree eyes. And whether you go from the middle out like this, I tend to like to pull towards me, so I usually will do that. That is one angry tree. And then just wherever you want down here. I'm going to see your round eyes. Oh yeah, I like that. That's cute. Paul did a couple round eyes, so I'll do that too. I had to copy Paul. Here. Angry wolves, and then this is the one that's like scared.
Inside joke, sorry.
That's right. The wolf on the Wilderness Family movie made the weirdest sound. Like it was some overdubbing they did, and it was like, it was so bizarre. Go watch it, guys. If you have Amazon Prime, that's where we got it. We watched it on Amazon Prime. If you feel like taking a trip back to the ultimate 70s, go for it. Your last step. Sign your painting. Any color you want. I'm going to go with orange because Paul just put a fresh dollop on here. And the orange is a nice liquidy color. And it matches our pumpkins. And I just put my initials down. I didn't sign my original. I feel like I could do that now. But then there's always the danger of ruining the painting with your signature.
You know, it's funny, I have definitely seen that happen. And I've done it myself, too.
I'm going to try something. I'm going to use white and do a little final ultra highlight, like a spot.
That's kind of what I just did.
Oh, I like that. So, guys, I just put a tiny bit of white in here because I felt like I needed to try something different. Again, they were looking a little bit too much the same. So here we are. Let's have a look at Paul's when you are ready. I'm going to set my brushes in my water.
I got a couple little spots.
Look at my paper towel. It's a work of art itself. Very muddy looking. I always laugh when we pick up and clean up after the painters in the studio. We're like, it's one of those tests where you fold it and unfold it.
I've actually had a couple of students who want to bring home their palettes.
Yeah. Sometimes the palette ends up making a pretty nice work of art.
The palette sheets, I should say.
Yes, the palette sheets. These are pretty cool, you guys, if you haven't seen them before. It's a pad of like wax papery sheets. And we sell them for $6.
Yeah.
And there's 50 sheets. So every time you do a new painting, you can do that. GoBox.com.
I mean, that'll last you 2 years of subscriptions.
Will it? 2 years?
Yeah.
You better finish up so I can show your painting. We're leaving our audience in limbo.
Okay.
Although you guys are probably painting. Perfecting. Keep working. Keep painting. Everything you do, every tree you paint gets you closer to making a tree that you're finally going to love.
Everything you paint.
Yeah, brother.
Every stroke you make.
Okay, Paul's is very different. So he went with a whole different color scheme. Well, with the green. on the moon, and definitely Paul style tree. So using the little brush for you don't always mix a lot of water with your paint. It looks like
No.
and that's okay. Turns out, when you put some actual realistic trees.
Just a couple because they felt big enough that they needed a little more detail to
Yeah. So if you guys want to do that, you can just do
just really
tree boughs.
little
with your little
horizontal
brush.
scribbles.
Little horizontal zigzag back and forth. Or you can think of it like little mustaches.
Mine looks like a comic book.
Yeah. I like the way your pumpkins turned out. They turned out nice. I like this third one that you added in here.
I still like those pumpkins you did on the original one best.
Yeah, I do too. You know, it's like even teaching in the studio, it's so hard to just exactly replicate. Your colors are always going to be slightly off. I can see my highlights on the new one are stronger, and the orange is actually stronger too. So, also it's timing. When I design a painting, I'm not talking while I do it. It probably goes a little faster, so some of my paint was maybe still wet, which allowed me to get a major mix there.
Focus when you're not having to teach and paint.
Yep.
It's a little different. Yeah, right. So.
Well, I think we can come back and say goodbye.
Let's bring us back.
Hopefully you guys can tune in next Tuesday when we do the...
sorry.
when we do the Old Birch Road painting. Mm-hmm. It's really pretty. I'm excited to do that one.
Yeah, I like that one. Actually, the last couple I've been really happy with.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, they've been good.
So if I look like it, I'm feeling completely exhausted for some reason tonight, and
you do look like it.
It feels like it. I feel like it. I have another job that I work during the day, so it's been let's see,
a long day for you.
It's been a 12-hour
long day for you. Yeah, so if you like this, you can subscribe and get notifications every time we post a new video. I'm gonna do some extra Christmas paintings this year. I say it, I gotta commit to it. I'm gonna do it. And we've got our links to, you can join our Patreon, which supports us once a month. But if you just want to do a one-time donation, you can follow the coffee link, which is at buymeacoffee.com.
It's just like their, it's
something like that. You'll see the link on there.
KO-FI, but everybody says buy me a coffee.
That keeps us rolling, keeps us able to do these.
We did get a nice donation through there last month, so.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week for another painting.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Whoa.